Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today we're going to be building, motorising and placing the 60313 Space Ride amusement truck. Well, after buying the brand new passenger train on lego.com at about 10 minutes past midnight on the 1st of June, I needed to spend about £30 more to qualify for the free gift with purchase, and I wanted that. So I was looking at all the new releases to see which one would get me over the threshold that I really wanted, and there was quite a lot of competition this time, and well, I landed on this one because, well, isn't it obvious why? It looks absolutely amazing. I'm really excited to get into this set. It's definitely the best looking small ride we've had in ages. And it has the added benefit, obviously, that it all folds up and stays on the back of this long truck as well. So, yeah, I'm really into this. So it was quite an easy decision at the end of the day. Anyway, we've had quite a few space-themed rides in recent years. We've had the amusement park space ride, 41128, which was a friend set, which I use as my space spinner in my fully motorised Fairground. We also had the space rocket ride shortly after that, set 40335. We also had what is arguably the most similar to this one, in that it had a kind of UFO theme, the 31095 Fairground Carousel in 2019, which had the sort of rocket, spaceship, UFO and cow as its kind of cars. And both the space spinner and that Fairground Carousel had a similar sort of technique of using gravity to sort of have hanging cars sort of fly out like that. Whereas this one uses a circular track. So the thing I'm most interested in is how that works, whether it spins very well, or maybe if it's a little bit boring because, well, it only goes round in circles. So yeah, let's see. So I suggest I get on with the build, get this open and start with bag one. Well, bag one is quite a small one. We do get a little generator, which is a nice touch. Glad they included that with a new style 1x2 control panel. Not sure what the jumper connections are for yet, but anyway, I'm glad they included that. A small ticket booth. I won't be using that in my Fairground just because, well, I've got central ticket offices for all of my rides really, but I'm glad to have another ticket tile. You can never have too many of those. But what really is great here that goes very much with the minifigure is this 2x2 printed tile. It isn't a sticker. And this is a photograph of this chap having a great time on this ride, and you can see the ride in the picture and obviously the guy dressed as he is in physical form, and I think that's a really good touch. We've had this kind of before, but it's always been quite small, quite subtle, and on big sets like the big old roller coaster. So it's really nice to see that here. So we can give that to him with that in his hand, and he'll look really happy for the rest of the day. So yeah, a good start, but quite a modest one. Let's get going on to bag two. Hey, now you're talking. An absolutely massive purple truck cab. And this looks absolutely fantastic if you ask me. My main concern with this was that it would be really puny, as has been the case with a few recent city sets where the cab is so sort of small and underpowered looking that it doesn't even look strong enough to pull the thing behind it. And maybe it was a bit of an afterthought, but this is definitely part of the show here. I just love this purple colouring throughout, and that's made even better by the absolutely lovely sticker on the roof there, where we've got both the alien in the background, who I reckon might be modelled on the Simpsons aliens, Kang and Kodos. Let's see what you think of that. I think it does look quite similar, apart from the missing sort of glass dome on their heads. And then our hero in the foreground, firing his laser, has just got to be the Series 17 Retro Spaceman. Yeah, he's definitely got the same helmet and even the same laser, so I'm pretty sure that is him. So that's really good to see. I'll probably have to move that character from my cosplay sort of event in the city to working on this ride now, I think. Anyway, other good features are this front grille. I really like that, and its build technique that ends up with studs kind of on the bottom. I like the two sort of exhausts down the back, and the fact that we've got an enclosed back, so no skimping there. A strong tow bar, and no skimping again on including number plates front and back as well. I always like to see those. I don't like it when they forget to add number plates to some vehicles in my city when all the others do have them. And they've included the coffee mug, or tea mug as I look at it, from the front. I was a bit concerned they hadn't kept up that tradition when I was building it, but the mug was just hiding under another piece. So yeah, really good to see that. But I think it's the size mainly of that I'm really happy with. It feels right. But even better than that is the ride operator, who, check out that torso, has a unique piece. It's got the sort of UFO logo there on his breast. And then on the back, we've got what I haven't seen before, because it's not in any of the official pictures that I've seen, that alien again in a flying saucer in a field of stars. And that just looks absolutely amazing, if you ask me. So I'm going to give that my Best Torso I've Seen in a While award. Anyway, so he's got a very cheery face and quite a rare hairpiece, actually, in that colour, in brown. But he also comes with the lime-coloured alien hat sort of costume. So I'm definitely going to be keeping him in that, and that's very in tune with him having that laughing smile. And his hairpiece, therefore, can get put in the cab, because in the cab, weirdly, I don't know why that's there, is that box sort of next to the driving seat. So basically, maybe that's where his wig's supposed to go, because, well, it's the only loose piece in the entire set. So I guess that's what it is. And I'm thinking this weird bit here on the back of the cab is the camera for taking these pictures. So yeah, really, really good set already, I think, with this cab. But I'm sure the ride's going to be the main feature, and even better than that. Dun dun dun! And here is the main event. And wow, doesn't it look good? Bright, colourful, very 3D, dominated as it is by this wonderful alien in the middle. He's absolutely fantastic. I mean, who couldn't love a face like that? Brilliant. And he's holding this wonderful space ride sign, continuing the theme from the cab. And speaking of the cab, this is when we need to attach it, really, to give it a level base for operation. And you'll have heard that satisfying clunk there. I can pick the cab up by the trailer and it's still very firmly connected, which is really good to see. So yeah, the ride is very simple in the fact that it just operates by a simple turn of the handle on the back. And it's nice and smooth. It's got a nice sort of clunky clunk type sound to it. And it's quite a clever mechanism, actually. Very simple indeed. But essentially, two of these arms just hook over a modified plate on the car. And that stops it being a very rigid connection that's sort of more prone to sort of getting stuck or anything like that by having a lot of give in it. And the other two just hold a very simple, loose little mini alien who's almost like one of those face clingers from the Alien Conquest line. But I was very fascinated during the build process of how this mechanism would work, because I've made so many rides, either mechanised or motorised, over the last sort of year or two, that it was really interesting to see how it'd be done in this case. And I think one of the negatives is that it is very visible, in that we can see this purple small flower gear powering this green one. So the illusion that it's powered by this little generator is probably missing a little bit, to be honest. But it's still kept me interesting during the build, and it's still pretty clever in that we've got the whole outside of the sort of body of the alien going round, but the head obviously is stuck still in one position. So yeah, I do like that. It does mean that if you look at the far side, for example, the alien obviously isn't facing that way, but it's very easy to sort of flip around. So you'll just have to decide sort of which orientation you want to have the alien facing in, and that position will look the best. We've also got these arms folding out to support the track on either side. And the whole thing is based on two of these split level bases, which is exactly the same as the passenger train that I bought with this order in the same carriages, which means it is 32 studs long, which is incredibly long in total. And I was interested at one point whether the mechanism was actually going to go out through the hole in between the two split levels and get complicated in with the wheels or something, but it didn't. It's all above surface. But it works very well. It helps if you kind of pin it down with one finger to get some good traction, and you really can get it quite fast. So it kind of approximates one of those centrifuges they use in space training for astronauts. But yeah, it's very smooth indeed, and that little bit of give on the carriages is very important indeed, because I tried to make a circular ride like this using 4 roller coaster corner pieces, and it was very hard to get a rigid connection that would work very reliably. In the end, I had it being pulled by some string at the front. It never made my channel, so you haven't seen it, but I had them being pulled from a string in the front, which got around that problem. But this is another very clever way of doing it, and it also speeds up the process by which this is all packed onto the back of the truck. So that's what we should probably do next. After pointing out that there is a ladder on the back for sort of getting into the cars. So that is quite appropriate as well. Cool, right. So I think we should have a timed packing of this into lorry transit format. Okay, well, I'm kind of regretting suggesting this now because I haven't practiced this or anything. So we'll see how somebody who's just built a set and it's new to it can pack this up quickly or not. But let's start the clock. Ready, steady, go. Okay, so we need to take off all 4 of the things. Then we need to take off both sides of the track and fold up the support. So I'll do that, then put down all 4 of these in position. Put the 2 cars onto their little spikes. They should have holes in there. I've got one on. There's the other. Aliens onto those bits. Then we need to get the generator behind the cab. Then we need to get the ticket office on there, and then we can get these, and we clip them onto the same sort of places that they were on before, only this time pointing up into the sky. And we're nearly there, we just need to fold up the ladder, done. I don't know what that time was. I think it was under a minute, so that is pretty good going. And wow, it almost looks as good stowed as it does out, I think. And that's where this really attracted me, actually. I mean, one idea for incorporation in my city is that it is actually in this format. Maybe it's turned up late to the fairground behind everything else. Because, well, as you all know, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, my fairground is absolutely packed and stacked. And a ride this size, I don't know if I've got room for it. But isn't it great that it looks fun here? My only problem with it is I just can't see that beautiful face of the alien from all directions. It's kind of blocked from sort of dead on sideways. But yeah, the colour, the purple going all the way through it is absolutely great. One criticism is that part of the transformation process isn't removing this handle off the back. And I think it kind of looks a bit weird hanging out. Now, obviously, you can just pull out this section very easily, but there's nowhere to kind of stow it, basically. It's kind of loose. I know you could sort of balance it on here or something like that, or thread it through. It's kind of annoying. I think one improvement would have been just putting that somewhere else, because it looks very weird, I think, hanging off the back as it does. And the only other problem I can think of is just its sheer length. I mean, wow, that is long. I thought I'd do a length comparison just so we could appreciate it. Here is an old-fashioned base plate, and it's way, 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 way longer than that. And then if we bring in instead the newfangled plates for roads, if you're that kind of a guy, then you'll see that it's almost 3 whole ones of that, and that is pretty darned long if you ask me. So yeah, very beautiful, very great in both formats, very fun to turn around, but very impractical also. So I think, like most Lego, it is designed to be a toy first of all, rather than something for adult fans of Lego to incorporate into a massive city. So for a set for a child or a young person, I think it is absolutely amazing. The playability is fantastic. The colours, the stickers, everything is just grade A1. But yeah, maybe for somebody like me, it does have its problems with size. But then what doesn't? I mean, what about that new roller coaster? Where's that going to go in my city? All sorts of problems. Anyway, there we go. So the only thing I think we need to do now really is add a motor to this and see how it looks powered rather than turned. I think you'll want to see that. Now I'm just rebuilding this in sort of deployed format, and I thought before I put this near side of track on, I'd explain why I'm probably not going to include this fully motorised in my fairground, apart from size being a concern. And that's because, well, I don't really want a huge motor sort of coming off the back of this truck, because it would look really weird indeed. So I think I'd have to do a massive overhaul of the whole model, in that I would have to have it powered directly from below through the floor, which means the whole truck, which is mobile at the moment, would be pinned to the spot by an axle coming up from underneath. And probably the only place that doesn't have an axle hole along the entire bottom of these new plates is the join between the two of them, which is right underneath there. So I'll probably have to separate them by at least 2 studs and make this even longer, and then that's going to affect everything else, and it will just need a complete rebuild. So it is probably definitely my initial thought is that I'm not going to motorise this for inclusion in my Fairground and remove something that's already there. So this is really just to show you how it would look with a motor attached, because I know you people really like to see that. So I'm removing the whole turn handle. I'm going to bring in a trusty Power Functions medium motor, and I'm just going to hold it because essentially it will save me having to do any work to pin it down. But let's get the thing in shot, and I'm going to use a variable speed power controller just to crank it up and see, well, what speed it looks best at. So here we go. Let's have it nice and slow. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. In fact, that's probably still too fast for how you'd actually have it, because, I mean, this is supposed to be a kiddie ride, so you probably want it on setting number 1, which is very pedestrian indeed, but that's probably the most accurate. And it looks nice. Yeah, that's almost convincing me to try and include it in my Fairground, to be honest. That will need a lot of gearing down underneath the surface of my floor, of course. But anyway, you want to see it a bit faster, won't you? And the central alien's starting to wobble a bit. And do you want to see full speed on this? Yeah, stupid question really, isn't it? So get ready, full speed. Ah! Yeah, that's not so realistic, is it? Imagine you were a mother watching your child on this, and then all of a sudden they cranked it up to 11. Yeah, I'm really surprised nothing has flown off that, to be honest. I kind of thought it'd be more spectacularly destructive. But anyway, that's how it looks motorised. So let's take this up to the Lego room and see how it looks in my city. So here it is in my Fairground, which isn't complete as it stands, as you can see from the holes in the floor. And it does look really good here, actually, I must say. So yeah, part of me is tempted to include it in the scene. We do have our Ninjago ride still to add, which is over here, which is going to go roughly in the place where there is the hole, kind of here in front of the roller coaster. The brand new roller coaster, well, if I'm going to get that, I have no idea how it can go anywhere, really. It's so big. It would have to go over here, which is where we were going to have the mine and so on. So I'll have to make a very difficult decision later in the summer of whether to include that in the Fairground and have the whole thing sort of spreading out that way, or whether to just have that outside of the city. I don't really know. But back to today's problem, which is similar but a lot smaller. Do I want this deployed? Because if I do, it's going to take up this whole area here that I did have secret plans for. There is absolutely nowhere else big enough for it in the area dedicated to the Fairground. So it seemed to me that rather than dismantle this and have to do a lot of work motorising it to include it and it taking up all this space, to have it just going along our roads, maybe over here, I've cleared a space, so it's kind of late and the boss is kind of drumming his fingers waiting for it to arrive. Or I could even have it sort of coming in where the minis are coming in as the sort of entranceway into the area. I don't know. I can't decide. So I think I need your help. Do you think I should spend a lot of time and effort making this motorised and include it in the motorised section of the Fairground? Or should I have it stowed? So here is option 1. And I'll show you option 2 in a minute. Now, it does have to be motorised. That is one of the rules of my Fairground, probably the most important one. Everything you see here is motorised already. So we have loads of battery boxes hidden in caravans and toilets and so on, making all these rides and stores and everything all move. And as a result, it looks absolutely fantastic. So there's no way on earth that I'm going to have a turn handle ride in the middle of all of this. So let me turn those off to save us the noise. So really, there we go, is a choice between motorised there or what I'm going to show you right now. And here is option 2, all packed up and in transit on the roads, and it still looks good. It almost looks like he's got a police escort, actually, just because he's a very long vehicle, so that works quite well. And it really is quite an interesting perspective, especially with it being on its way to the fairground. It kind of ties in very well. Yeah, very bright and colourful. I've flipped the alien's head and sign so he's facing the other way to what he was before, just so he's facing into the room so we can see him a bit. And it reminds me of the thing that I was thinking when I was building it that would make it even better, I think, was just to use the teeth as an excuse to introduce some glow-in-the-dark pieces, just so he's got a really, really wacky face, and even glow-in-the-dark eyes, maybe. I know they've used those on a lot of the Friends and Ninjago sets recently, and Monkey Kid even, so why not here as well? But yeah, that's a good scene. Is that good enough? Again, you'll have to tell me your views, but I think for now, this is where it's going to stay. Looking good, though. Well, wherever it ends up in my city, I think it will look absolutely great and draw the eye with all those wonderful colours and parts and shapes and all the rest of it. I do think that it's very good value for the £35 it cost, and I'm very glad I added it to my basket to get over that gift with purchase threshold, because I've really enjoyed building it and I've enjoyed playing with it even more. I think I'll give it a 10 for looks and an 8 for play, just because it is basically a flat sort of circular track. But that gives it an overall score of 9, which is pretty good going if you ask me. Since putting it here on the road, it does occur to me that it is very tall. And the only two ways it could have got to where it did was going either underneath this monorail track next to the arcade sign, or the one over the railway, and I don't think it would fit under either. So that's kind of a bit of a bit of a mistake, I suppose. So maybe it should be entering from a different direction or out of the wall or something like that might make more sense. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, I think we'll be going back to our new express train, because I think I've got all the parts to do my first modification for that. So tune in for that on Monday. Then on Wednesday, we'll do the brick haul that was supposed to happen this week, that I've already recorded, so some of the beginnings and ends to that won't make any sense now, but anyway. And then on Friday, well, goodness knows, we might come back to the fairground or do something else that's on the project list, like the ship, or maybe the underwater base. But until all of that, see you